Most people think their financial future is shaped by hundreds of decisions: what to invest in, where to buy, when to sell. But in reality, these are just a handful of decisions that really matter more than everything else combined. And if you get these few decisions right, everything else gets easier. And if you get them wrong, they can change the entire trajectory of your life. Today, we're talking about the three financial decisions that will make a huge difference in literally shaping your entire life. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this.
Glad to have you on another edition of Legacy Beyond Wealth. I am Ben George. Here's Rob Shelton, founder of Axio Wealth Management. And Rob, you point out we're going to talk about three financial decisions really that shape your entire life. And I think, well, and there's got to be so many more than that, but we're going to be able to narrow them down to three today.
Yeah, absolutely. People spend so much time worrying about what I would call maybe the small stuff and not enough time getting these big ones right. And so hopefully by today, by bringing these to the forefront, people will take a little more time in making sure that they look at these big decisions in life.
Yeah, I think that's so important. As people I'm sure you get asked all the time, hey, where should my focus be, Rob? What should I be really paying attention to? And again, as you point out, we all get caught up in the little things. So let's point out some of these big things that you need to pay most attention to that are so critical in your financial life. So let's jump in. What's number one?
Yeah, really, it's about who you choose to build a life with. I mean, that spouse or partner, that is a huge, big, impactful decision. And hopefully people take the time to be able to think that through really well. But if you talk to anyone that's gone through a divorce, they'll tell you that's like a financial landmine that went off. And, sometimes you can do all the best due diligence you possibly can and before you marry someone and just divorce happens because people change over time. But if you can try to mitigate that risk by really taking that into consideration ahead of time, can make a big difference. One thing that we see out there is just having a conversation about alignment with your future partner or spouse. And how do you view money? How do you spend it? How do you save it? And what do you want your future to look like? And honestly, I've seen this play out in one of the hardest ways possible.
Well, I think the toughest part of that, Rob, it's not as tough, I guess, if you're coming off a divorce and you've kind of lived this life and this experience and you know what you should be asking. But I think for a lot of younger couples and families, it's just not knowing, what to talk about when it comes to money, because a lot of us aren't raised to have those discussions. So what are some things if you're, in a serious relationship with someone or beginning, that life with someone that you really should be asking about or, talking about the conversations? What should you specifically be talking about?
Yeah, I think definitely about how to live that best life together. And look, we all come from different backgrounds. That's hard enough in marriage, right? Trying to blend two different cultures and two different upbringings, particularly with money and the emotion that money can be able to bring alongside of it. But another aspect that's out there, and maybe not even just divorce, but, having been in this business for a while, we have quite a few widows who have lost their husbands much earlier than anyone had expected. And what's really hard about that, and what popping to me is to see the difference of those families who planned and those who didn't. Give you just an example. Last year we had a client that passed away, and it was really difficult because we always kept talking about life insurance and the most important thing for him and his family, and it was over a course of 10 years. And he kept delaying and putting off and thought only about the life that he wanted to live today and not about the life if he was gone and what that would look like for his wife. And unfortunately, didn't have any insurance coverage. Now that wife's doing okay, but could be doing so much better if there'd actually been that opportunity to have that conversation and that alignment about what would happen. Heaven forbid one of them were to pass away. And so just so critical. I can't say alignment enough, that at least you can have an open, honest conversation with each other about difficult things. Because if you can't do that while you're dating, it's not going to get any easier once you get married. It only gets harder from there.
Yeah, no question. And you talk about, in life insurance and some of these critical financial decisions you make along with your spouse. What is your role during that process too, Rob? Because I'm sure, it helps to have someone on your side that you trust, that you can rely on when these difficult life events happen.
Yeah, I joke sometimes I feel like I should have got a marriage degree versus a financial advising degree because sometimes people there is an alignment, but using professionals and talking through it in an environment, I mean, disagreements are going to happen in marriage, but I don't know if yours is different than mine, but that's
Yep.
just going to always happen to have disagreements. It's about having the ability to work through those, and sometimes you do need a third party that can be able to be there that's not so emotionally involved and kind of be able to help work through that. And so it's one thing I love working with clients on, but definitely when you think about big decisions in your life, that life partner and having open, honest communication and not being fearful of having a discussion about money is something that ought to be thought about before you jump in and say, I do.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that's number one. May not be one that you think about right off the top when you think about important financial decisions in your life, but that is a big one as you build your family to make sure you have the right partnership together with your spouse. All right, decision two, Rob. Where we go next?
Your career and your income path. We work with a lot of different students from college at the local university. Bring them in once a quarter, pay lunch, and they sit down and ask them, what questions do you have? How can we help mentor you? Because I wish I would have had that to someone kind of giving me a little bit of mentoring or understanding on a career path. I look back and there were definitely things I could have done better, maybe if I had a mentor at that point in time. But so many people, I would say, would jump into college, graduate, and then maybe not even understand what their opportunity is in that career that they had chosen. And they want to live this best life that they have always dreamed of, but that career may not have the income potential to really drive for that opportunity that's out there. So when you're thinking about a career, obviously you want one that you can be able to choose that you feel like you never have to go to work a day in your life because you love it so much. But it also needs to be able to be with the right company that has advancement opportunities, right income opportunities to make sure that you're not hitting an income ceiling that caps your potential to live your best life.
How important is it to find that balance, right? Of a place that has a path forward for you, but also respects your time away from the office as well, to where you can truly enjoy every aspect of the job. How important? I mean, this is I guess it's got to be tough to find for a lot of people, and can be frustrating, especially I guess in this job market too.
It definitely can, but that's where we shouldn't just give up or just settle. And I think just as we've talked about time and time again, Ben, the most important thing is to be proactive, not reactive. And so, maybe you find yourself in a position where you didn't find that ideal fit. Well, take that opportunity to start looking today, make that list. And the best things in life usually come after a lot of work. I've never found anything that's out there in life that has been a big benefit to me that came easy. I just haven't found that. Maybe it exists out there, but for me, I haven't found that. And it requires some work ethic to be able to be put into it. So yes, it's going to be difficult to be out there, but if you can find a really good mentor that you could be able to work with to help guide and coach you through things, it would help make that decision a lot easier than just trying to go at it on your own.
What about those people, Rob, that feel like they maybe have already chosen wrong? Is it smart to go ahead and shift gears? Is it ever too late to make a change?
Boy, I think about this all the time. And they always say the best time to plant a tree was what, like 10 years ago? But the
Yeah.
second best time to plant a tree is today. Kind of the same thing about that career path. I would say that's never too late to be able to make that change or that pivot. We've seen people make career changes in their 50s and even sometimes in their early 60s. And so I would say it's never too late. But the important thing is to analyze that today. Plant that tree today. Make that stake in the ground of what you want to be able to have, and then put the effort in to go look for that opportunity. It may present itself clearly in a short period of time, or it may take some time and effort to be able to work through it. But once you find that, boy, you want to hold on to that and not let go of it, because that's so critical to having a really happy life, is having a good work-life balance that can help you provide an income to live that best life.
Yeah. I think as you pointed out, don't give up on finding that, right? It's not going to be easy in most cases. So keep working towards finding that passion and opportunity that's out there for everyone. All right. Let's go to our last decision. Our financial decision will really shape our financial lives. Rob, what is that?
Yeah, how you manage and protect what you build. And kind of what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter necessarily how much you make if you can't manage it very well and if you don't protect it. So some of the most important things is I'll meet with some people that have some really high incomes, but they don't have anything to show for it years after having made that. And recently met with a couple that came into our office for one of our discovery meetings, took us up on our complimentary offer there. And as I sat down and talked with them, they both had said, hey, in both of our careers, we've kind of hit that sweet spot. We're making more income than we ever thought we could. And in the last couple of years, we look back and we don't feel like we have anything to show for it. And so they wanted to take a much more proactive approach in managing it and protecting it to build them the financial freedom to live that best life. They didn't want to always have to be tied to a career and eventually have that independence. And so I think that's one of the most important things that people maybe not think about is being very proactive and intentional about how do I manage this and protect this.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family's story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
Do you see a lot of families doing it the right way, Rob, when they come in to meet with you, or is this something habits that you have to change and work on and help develop?
Yeah, I just came from a discovery meeting with a brand new opportunity to work with an awesome family. And I looked at them, and he's 56 and she's 56, and they're looking to be able to just maybe make a change in advisors. Didn't feel like they're getting the proactive approach, but boy, they did a phenomenal job at managing for 30 years of their career and putting themselves in a really good spot. The problem was just not having an alignment with their advisor to understand where the best places to be able to put some of that money to be able to work for them to be able to have that alignment with their goals. And so that was where I feel like the opportunity for us to come in is at. But for some people, it's easy. For others, it's a little more difficult to be able to have there. And one of the secret sauces I would say to this is by having a spending plan. I don't like to use the word budget. I like to use that word spending plan, that we're going to decide how we're going to spend our money and be very intentional about that. And part of spending that money is spending it on yourself through investing versus maybe being caught up in that trap of having packages always delivered to the front porch, because that seems to give the most easiest hit of dopium to your brain, is to be able to buy something when really we got to rewire that a little bit and help learn that, hey, it's okay to buy some things, but we also need to be saving at the same time and investing.
It's one of those things where that it's awesome to have the technology and the access, Rob, but man, it's so much easier just to throw away money, to waste money, and to not be disciplined. It's so much more of a challenge. There's so many distractions out there right now.
There are, and I'm thinking, I hope it's okay to share some of these examples here, Ben.
Yeah.
I just think back to a review we just did with a client, and we were talking about the importance of saving and managing the money that you have and the incomes you have. And then we started to turn the conversation to their kids, because their kids had done a phenomenal job as teenagers of living this concept. And so I had to ask them, I said, what is it that you're teaching your teenagers to even be able to manage the income that they're making now, which isn't huge, but they're even being able to save even just a small bit, which is compounded over time. And they said, Rob, their grandparents ended up having to come live with us because of their financial situation. And they love their grandparents and they're glad that they're here. But I think that set off a warning to them that they need to be able to manage so they can have the financial freedom to choose what they want to do later on in life. And I thought, man, that's really eye-opening for those kids. And kudos to them for having the discipline and to do that at a young age, and the realization to manage it before it starts to manage you.
Yeah, you don't often think that long term, especially when you're younger like that, Rob. But having that money or the lack of it really can dictate your options later in life. So it's so important to be focused and disciplined as much as possible now. Make those tough decisions early on that can really pay off over the long term. So let's kind of finish it off here, Rob. So when you kind of take a step back, look at all these three decisions. I mean, it is really important that you are intentional about these, right? Because they do shape everything.
They do. And the only thing I could say is be more intentional about it, be more proactive. If anything, I'm hoping this brings awareness, that someone takes a look at this and at some point in their life looks at one of these three items and says, hey, I could do a little bit better in this area, or be a little more proactive in this area, and really help making those changes that can shape some items that really would help you have a significant impact into living your best life.
Well, someone is watching this, Rob, and is thinking, okay, I've never thought about this way. How can I be more proactive, intentional? What's maybe the first step they could do?
I would say the first thing to do is set up a discovery meeting with us. I mean, honestly, sitting down and having that discussion, we have a saying that is so critical with our firm, and that is that we want to help people unlock the financial freedom to live their best life. And that's just not a saying that we've taken on. Every Friday, we have a discussion. How did you help a client live their best life this last week? And so I think it's important that we take a look back and see who you're working with. Is there alignment where you feel like they're being proactive, or are they being reactive with your professionals that you're currently using? If they're being proactive and you feel like they're helping you to live your best life and bringing these big questions to have those discussions with you, great. If not, maybe it's time for a second opinion.
All right, as we close it out again, there are a lot of small things you can do over the course of your financial life to really help build towards later. But there are, again, these few big ones that really make a huge impact over the long term. So make sure you're getting those right. And again, if you want to get in touch with Rob, AxioWM.com, you'll find all the contact information down in that show description below. If you're watching us on YouTube or whatever podcasting app you're listening to us, you'll find it there as well. But please don't hesitate to reach out. It's a great opportunity. Again, take that step now. Now is the best time to begin planning. If you haven't done it already, it's never too late to start taking those steps toward changing your financial future. So thanks for being a part of another episode of Legacy Beyond Wealth. Hope you have a great week.